Good evening and welcome to the Cache County Legislator Town Hall. We're excited to have everybody here. My name is Jeff Cox and I'm the chair of the Cache County Republican Party. And we're going to start tonight by asking each of our representatives and senators to talk about the session and their hopes and dreams and goals for the session. And Representative Thomas Peterson, let's start with you.
Thank you, Jeff, and I sure appreciate you putting this together. Thank you so much for all you do for the party. My name is Thomas Peterson. I represent District 1, which is western Brigham City to Nevada and southern Brigham City to Idaho, a small Manaway, and then a small portion of the northwest corner of Cache County, including Newton, Clarkston, Cornish area. Committees I serve on here this year are natural resources and business and labor, as well as vice chair for the BEDL, or the Business, Economic Development and Labor Sub-Appropriations Committee. This is my second session and I'm really enjoying getting to know everyone and just love working with the representatives and the senators we have from our area. Few things that I'm working on this year is increasing government efficiency and government transparency. I have two bills that I filed. The first one is state agency application review timeframes. The goal of that bill is to see where our state agencies are with their application process and what we can do to improve efficiencies with our applications. So that's my primary bill. I do have another bill that allows us to track and dive into transparency on state agency websites. I've noticed with a lot of agency websites as I've become a legislator that there are a lot of opportunity for improving access to state employees and to information on our websites. So that's another one I'm working on. I have a tobacco cessation bill that was brought to me by the Bear River Health Department Youth Governing Council. It passed through the House. It passed House Committee and will be going to the floor here shortly. It's House Bill 128, and that's one that I'm really excited. It was brought to me from the kids of the Cache Valley area in the Box Elder County area, and I'm proud to champion that for them. The rest of them are not as exciting, and so I will, if you're interested, you can get on my website and check out the legislation that I'm running at le.utah.gov. And just appreciate everybody who's taking the time to watch this, and would love your input as we move forward with the session. So thank you.
Senator Sandall.
Thanks, Jeff. So appreciate the time. Thank you. Senator Scott Sandal, Senate District 1, all of Box Elder County and south part of Cache County and some of Tooele County. This session started off really fast and furious. We jumped right into some bills that had some controversy around them, and we've started also into our work on appropriation subcommittees. We're going to have a little bit different year this year in our budget, where we've had a lot of extra money from federal money that flowed into people's pockets and into state coffers in the last 2 years. That money is slowed down, and we'll take a good hard look at a lot of things, but we always balance a budget. We have to by Constitution. We always get that done. I serve on natural resources and ag, environmental. I do a lot of bills and a lot of work in that area, and so water and energy are the two factors that I'm very much concerned about as we grow our state. We want to make sure we have an abundant supply of both to be able to grow and to have a clean environment. Well, those are all important things to me. Quickly, I want to mention SB 57, an idea that came to me kind of out of an article that I found out of Alberta, Canada, where they pushed back on some things that were coming out of their capital And I thought we should be able to do something like that. So I created a process whereby a resolution can be surfaced and debated and passed that basically will tell our state employees that if it's a certain item in federal regulation or rule that we don't agree with as a legislature, that our state employees should not be complicit in helping the federal government to carry out that rule. So we'll see how it goes. It's gathered up a little interest, and it's over in the House. We'll get it passed out of there hopefully in a day or two. So anyway, thanks.
Representative Snyder.
No, thanks, guys. Really appreciate the time and another session and another round. As many of you know, the Chevron case from 1984 basically gave the federal agencies carte blanche discretion to implement regulation, and everything from some of the water regulations to the air regulations are governed by that Supreme Court case, or at least the discretion is. And so there's a potential that case was heard in the Supreme Court last fall, and there's a potential that will be overturned. And being ready to push back against federal overreach in the event that we get a favorable ruling on that is going to be pretty transformative to our state. And that's probably the bill I'm most excited about this session. Thanks again, everybody.
All right, thanks. Representative Peterson.
Thank you. And thanks, Jeff, so much for doing this. I really appreciate you giving us the chance to talk with folks in Cache Valley and let them know what we're thinking about and what we're working on. I appreciate what you do for us. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I've got 3 bills that I'm working on. One that reduces the number of reports that schools are required to do that have to be turned into the auditor, and there's so much duplication, so we've found some reports that could be eliminated. Then I have a bill that deals with let me tell you this way. I had someone contact me 6-8 months ago who told me, someone in the state up Wasatch Front, who told me that he is a graphic artist at a university and he is being required to create a poster for a drag queen story hour at this higher ed institution. That violates his conscience. He wasn't very happy about having to do that, and it turned out that he actually doesn't have his job anymore. So this bill, what it does is it protects state employees who have who are asked to do things that violate their religious or their conscience, and what it does is it has that institution staff around them. So, for example, you may remember Eric Moutsos. He was a police officer in Salt Lake County, a motorcycle cop, and he was asked or required to ride in a pride parade a few years ago, but not just as crowd control, but he was to be in the lead. We'll say float, but it was motorcycles who were going to do their figure eights and so forth. It violated his conscience, and but he wasn't allowed to swap with his buddy, even though he'd arranged with his buddy to not have to be the lead float, but to do crowd control. But he wasn't allowed to do that. So what this bill does is that's a great example of someone who could have been staffed around to protect their own conscience. So this bill works on that. And then the last bill is will have us put, if you look at our history, what's required that we teach in history, of course, the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the national motto, the Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem, the Mayflower Compact. These historical documents, we're adding the Magna Carta and the 10 Commandments to help kids to see, how did American law come about? How was America settled? And anyway, those kinds of things. That's it, Jeff. That's a good wrap up for what I'm doing right now. Thank
That was
you.
great. All right, Senator Wilson.
All right. Again, I also want to thank Jeff and also obviously the GOP Executive Committee. You guys do a great job. I appreciate your time that you donate, I think, to the rest of us and trying to improve the party in Cache County, and appreciate your efforts. And I think most of us, at least myself, I don't think Senator Sandel is, but the rest of us are up for re-election this year. And so appreciate any help and appreciate you doing these town halls. This session, the last couple of weeks yesterday, we passed out of the Senate. I'm sure they passed out of the House today, the infrastructure and general government budget. I'm very fortunate, very lucky to be able to be the Senate chair of IGG, which is overall the UDOT budget, also over the GovOps, which is the main Utah State's administrative department. And so anyway, we passed a $3.5 billion budget. We were able, some of the budget numbers came in, the actual collections and also their projections have come in to where we were able to put back about $750 million, which was taken out because concerns with the budget. They're going to have a shortfall. So the budget looked a little bit better. So we were able to put $750 million back, which is going to go towards different priority transportation projects. So I think that's a big deal, especially with our state, with the growth. And so that was some good news that we did in the last couple of days. We're doing a lot of RFAs in IGG, and again, next week or two, we're going to prioritize and send off to the Executive Appropriations Committee. We have a meeting tomorrow with subcommittee chairs, and we'll find out probably a little bit more of how the budget's looking. One thing I've been working on is open up a bill file in May. Maybe some of you heard about is income tax amendments. We've got I was able to get through the Rev and Tax Committee, which I'm a member of, yesterday, a income tax cut. The cut will be at 10 basis points, which is 4.65 down to 4.55. To be honest with you, my bill actually had a bigger tax cut, but the Executive Appropriations set aside $160 million back in December, which is a 10 basis points income tax cut. So maybe not quite what I was hoping for, but we'll take what we can. In the last, this is my fourth session, and we've cut taxes every year, somewhere around $1 billion, over $1 billion, and this another 160 million. So I'm very, very proud of that. These tax cuts will help keep our economy moving. It'll give money back to the families that have, I think, been hit very hard with the inflation last 2 or 3 years. It'll help us be competitive with other states. Other states, obviously Nevada doesn't have an income tax. There's other states, Arizona's down around 2.5%. Or Wyoming doesn't have income tax. There's a number of states that don't have income tax, and we need to be competitive. So I'm continuing to look at ways that we can continue to reduce our income tax. It's a tax on productivity. We think a better tax is a tax on consumption. And so continue to look for ways to try and reduce those income taxes, which will help fuel our economy and even be able to have more I think more revenue to help with roads and education and water and energy and some of the other things that we're experiencing issues with the growth we've had. So the income tax amendments will be probably on the floor of the Senate next couple of days. I'm sure hopefully we'll be able to get it out of the Senate, get it over in the House with Kay Christopherson is going to be the floor sponsor over there. And then we'll wait and see. Probably around the middle of February, usually around President's Day, we get our final budget estimations and collections and projections. And at that time, we'll be able to make a final decision. Make sure we want to make sure that we're level-headed and that we're responsible tax cuts. We don't want to be like some of these states that. In fact, to be honest with you, Arizona's had some budget issues right now when they've cut down to 2.5%. So we want to make sure we do it correctly. So happy about that. Also been working on a truth in taxation modification bill, which is going to increase and improve transparency for truth in taxation when municipalities and other taxing districts want to raise taxes. It's going to make them go through all through the same process, make sure there's transparency with taxpayers. They'll know how much is there and when there's going to be meetings, and make sure that we have plenty of public comment. And I'd like to thank Diana Schaefer brought that idea to me back in March or April as she noticed all the issues we were having. She was seeing in the county. So I appreciate her help and David Benson, and then we kind of took it from there and worked with the tax commission and others. But we were able to get that out unanimous. Both Republicans and Democrats out of the interim committee, got it through the first day of the session of the first afternoon, got it out of the Senate. Now it's over in the House, got it through the House committee. So excited about just a couple of bills. I'm probably gone way too long, but anyway, been working on sex offender registry access, another bite of the apple. This is the third year in a row I've been looking to try and protect our kids and our grandkids from predators, and also trying to keep sexual abuse materials away from our children and away from others, and trying to protect those victims. So got another one of those, a number of other bills, but we'll stop there and love to hear from Dan.
Okay, hey, Jeff, thanks for this. I do appreciate it. Also like to extend my thanks to the Cache GOP, and I hope you'll share those feelings with those that you serve with. I'm also thankful for our state Republican Party as well. In the first week we passed, it was really busy in just 4 days. The House passed 28 bills. We got to hear from the Supreme Court justices, and that was a really neat honor. And then we also got to listen to the governor in his state of the state address. So there were some really nice things that happened in this first week. So I'm just going to mention 3 bills. I have 7 that I have open, and several requests for appropriations that have been asked by our local community to run. I'd like to, one of the first ones is the Office of Families, and that will be created in the Health and Human Services area. And it's kind of surprising in a state like ours where families are so important. There's never been an Office of Families that will overlook, be an umbrella for all these different agencies as well as nonprofit organizations that protect families, keep families strong, and protect children. And so there will be a data collection piece added to that Senator Wilson has asked to include in my bill. And I think that's going to be a great addition to the bill. So we'll collect data from all these agencies and nonprofits, and then make some really important decisions in the future that, in policy as well as appropriations that will affect families across the state. I'm really excited about that. The other one I wanted to visit with you just a little bit about is I've been concerned over the years about our rural counties and emergency medical services that are provided there. And so one of the things I've tried to do is that, often, people are kind of like Representative Snyder. They are an EMT, they're volunteer firefighter, and they also do search and rescue. It's all volunteer work. Volunteerism is kind of losing its traction. And so I thought, you know what, we've got to find a way to incentivize people who are out in these rural areas who are certified EMTs to continue to provide that service. And so this bill will improve what I did last year, and that's to provide the state health insurance for these individuals. And so it'll actually include dental benefits, life insurance benefits, and disability insurance benefits. So if you keep your EMT status up and you serve for a certain amount of time, you'll qualify for that insurance at a very low rate. And UAC, the Utah Associations of Counties, is very excited about this bill and gives it full support. The other one I wanted to visit with you about is something I learned when I was working on chronic absenteeism, not only in our state, but in our nation last year. So this year, the Speaker of the House asked me to run an interim study on online education because I noticed that so many kids were gone, upwards of 30% of the students during the 21-22 school year never attended a day of school. And that is stunning. And even in our own state, we have a high rate of chronic absenteeism. So what's happening is that I got to looking at that because a lot of people are staying home. They're going to go online. If you press the issue with them, many choose, homeschool or that, and that's a great choice for people to have, or a private school, go to charter school, or go to your local school. So one of the things I wanted to do is to make sure that our state online education program is a quality program where the state core is taught. It's taught by teachers that are certified and licensed. And so that when a high school principal has to give credit on a kid's transcript, they know that that course has been a vetted course. So I want to make sure that as we have this proliferation and the need for online programs, that they are quality and that we have a system on the back end, that's the technology piece, that actually will allow access to all of those programs. So I just wanted to mention that. Just a couple things that locally that I think are really critical too is what we do with refugees and immigrants that come, because Logan is now a resettlement city. So these are vetted legal immigrants that come from maybe concentration camps almost, is the way it looks in some of these war-torn areas. And they finally get out of that. They come to America and they go through a process of being vetted with vaccinations and other sorts of things to make sure that as they then come to some of these resettlement cities that it's safe to have them here. And I found out from Danny Buse that our center, which is CRIC, the Cash Refugee and Immigrant Connection, and trying to connect up with the English Language Center. So we have this well-rounded system here to help those individuals, be able to search for and find the American dream for them. They have housing, they get a job, they learn the language, they become a part of the community, they give back, they pay taxes, and all of that. And that is way, way different than what we see happening on our southern border, where we don't have a border. These are legal immigrants that have been vetted that come into our country, and they want to be here, and they want to become part of society and find the American dream for them. So that's one thing locally that I'm working on, and hoping that we can get that this year and help the English Language Center and CRIC be able to provide the services for those people, like Afghanistan refugees and refugees from Ukraine, refugees that come here from Venezuela. So we have quite a few different people that bought their state. I think in the state of Utah right now, there's 106 different languages spoken. So we have an amazing state. So Jeff, I'll complete with that.
Okay, thanks, Representative Dan Johnson. Okay, guys, have a couple questions for you. and you've seen this list. It's been up on our website for you and every other member of the public to look at and contribute to. So the first question is, are you aware of Representative Jimenez's bill to remove public school immunity giving harmful material to minors?
In the House, all summer long, we worked with Senator Representative Ivory on his sensitive materials bill, and we got that to a place where we could get it passed. And so this past week, we voted on that, and I voted in the affirmative for that sensitive materials bill. So it may be something that's kind of related to the topics that Representative Jimenez also wants to manage. But I will tell you that the sensitive materials bill makes sure that we have library materials and other things that do not have sensitive material in that. They're not pornographic. It's not going to be allowed in schools, and we have a way in this bill that will be taken a look at. So I think that's kind of related to the idea you don't also want, you certainly don't want school personnel giving any sorts of sensitive material out. That seems contrary to me to what was in Representative Ivory's bill. So I have not seen Representative Jimenez's bill, but I just think this is a kind of a related one, Jeff, that I might relate to you.
In 2023, you guys passed HB 427 prohibiting critical race theory in Utah schools. The State Board of Education recently upheld R 277-328, which allows critical race theory in the schools. And they recently had a hearing and they voted to retain R 277-328 is in direct violation of HB 427. Is there anything you guys can do about that?
I think the very first thing that we can do about that is we've got to get a hold of USBE and find out when that happened and how do they view that. And I'll be glad to follow up on that a bit, because I think that's really concerning.
Now, the good news is Jenny Earl, our representative on the board, voted to remove R 277-328, so that's good.
No, I was just made aware of, I know it was a couple of weeks ago, I think they had that vote, and I know it was one vote. There was a difference, and so I've had some conversation with Senator John Johnson about it. He stays on top of that stuff, and I think what he relayed to me is that they're working on trying to do something to combat that, but he was very disappointed, as I think all of us would be. So I think we'll just have to wait and see. He didn't get specific on what they were going to try and do, but I know they're very concerned, and I know they were going to look at some other ways to overturn that vote and decision.
All right, next question. The rumor is that Kira Birkeland is introducing a bill that will require you to opt in annually to receive a mail-in ballot. Do you guys think that's a wise policy?
So I will tell you, I talked with her about this earlier this week. And actually, the way she's working on it, it doesn't require it annually. It's once you've done it, it's going to happen, unless as the law, and I don't remember exact years, but if you don't do it for so many years in a row that you don't vote, it will stop just like it normally would.
Okay. I know state code allows any voter to opt out of a mail-in ballot, and so they would just go in and vote.
And I think, Jeff, to that point, I think in our county, I think we're leading the way in cash to have that opportunity that if you want to opt out, I don't think other counties across the state have implemented that yet. And I know that Cache has.
Yeah, well, it's part of the code, and David Benson just made people aware that they had the option, right? Okay, next question. Senator Wilson, Senator Sandall, I get your emails with your surveys in them, and I read your emails every single time. In the Senate majority goals, you guys say that you want to increase options for affordable housing. Does that mean government financed, built, managed housing? And is this goal in harmony with what Governor Cox is trying to do?
I think as I look at the process, it's just basically what we're talking about is trying to simplify the process, you know, of the permitting process. We passed some bills last year that caused some consternation in the valley. I was telling everybody, I think we need to kind of hold back on some bills. Let's see what happens with what was passed last year. But no, I don't think we're advocating for the state. I mean, we want the market system, but we do want to make sure that it's a streamlined system that we can. I mean, this is an economic piece. I mean, I've got a daughter and a son-in-law with 3 little kids in a rental house, and I don't know how they're ever going to get into a house. And most of what we're talking about is a detached home. You know, we're not talking about twin homes or apartments or anything like that. Most all the conversations, I think the House has also been having conversations, and we're having conversations about homes, maybe smaller homes, but a detached home with a garage is what we're talking about when we're and it might be the same in the House. Maybe the House guys can weigh in on what their conversations have been.
It would be the same. Yep.
And I'm not quite sure. I really haven't seen a lot of bills. I'm sure there'll probably be some coming out, but Governor Cox's recent proposal, and I mean, he's got the housing czar and different things, but I really haven't paid attention to what his budget or his other requests were. So we always work on our own budget. The legislature does. So I wish I had more information there for you, Jeff.
Okay.
I
Jeff,
could say, Jeff,
Jeff, on this topic, I think the best thing we could do is to reach out to Representative Stephen White, WHYTE, is how he spells his name. He's the person in the House that is overseeing what's happening with housing. And so I think he would be the person that would have the best answer to that question.
Okay.
But Jeff, let me just add one thing. For me, by and large, I want to see cities run their cities. I want them to have as much ability to do, to have their own personality. I don't want every city from Richmond to St. George be the same other than snowfall. And so I want them to have as much autonomy as we can as can be allowed. And so I think that if for the most part, if we would back out as much as we can, the market will work, the cities will work, and some of these issues can probably dissipate.
Obviously, one of the big thing right now is infrastructure. I mean, roads and sewer and water. I mean, I was talking to somebody today who was telling me about a big project out, I think in West Jordan somewhere, but to put the infrastructure in was $75 million. Well, it's tough to have affordable housing when you're spending $75 million on just the roads and infrastructure. So, hopefully we can come up with some creative ways to try and help. And we have in political subdivisions, we've talked about some different things, isn't it, during the interim. But that does not involve the state, but involves private equity groups coming in and helping finance those, and then helping the homeowners to add that to part of their home, which would reduce the burden on taxpayers in those municipalities. And so I thought that was a great, and I think there was probably a bill in the House right now towards that. So I thought that was one great option to try and help people, is having private equity help with financing those projects, infrastructure, and then charging actually the homeowners and they buy the lots pay for that. So.
Well, nothing gets me more excited to hear a legislator use the word market in a complete sentence. Next question. Phil Lyman's bill, HB 253, defines biological sex with respect to bathroom use. Will you vote for it?
I haven't seen the bill yet, haven't read it yet, but I think out the gate, in principle, I don't mind defining what a male and a female is and having them use the appropriate bathroom. So, I'll have to see how it plays out, what the bill actually says when it's out there.
I read it tonight before this meeting. It actually says what you would think it would say.
It's kind of interesting that Phil's doing that, but Kara Birkeland already has her bill out. It's been in committee. It's been on the floor of the House, went over to the Senate, and there's some changes made in that. So it is one of those bills too that defines, if that your bathroom that you're going to use is based on your biological sex at the time you were born, and some things like that. There's been quite a bit of pushback on it. So I think that Representative Lyman's bill might have some language or definition in it that might maybe be folded into what Representative Birkeland's doing. But it sounds to me like these are two bills that are concerned with kind of the same area. And so Representative Birkeland has received quite a bit of pushback on it. But I think I think she's holding strong on what her position on that is, and certainly is listening.
Yeah, that bill passed the Senate today.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we are.
And by the way, I would just add, Jeff, because I've had people ask me, well, what happens if I accidentally go in the wrong bathroom? So if you, Jeff, went into the women's restroom, Kara likened it to this. If you get pulled over, they won't pull you over for not wearing your seatbelt. It's a secondary offense. You get pulled over for speeding and then that. And in a like way, with this bill, if you're in the wrong bathroom, but it was an accident, for example, no harm, no foul. If you're in there and you are loitering or you're doing lewd things, if you're doing something illegal, that's when there's going to be the problem.
If your intent is to create a problem, there'll be a problem. If there's not, then there won't be.
Next question. One of the Senate majority goals was, quote, enhancing innovative education outcomes and programs, unquote. Does this mean more parental freedom and control? Does this mean more competition? Senator Wilson, what do you guys hope to achieve with this Senate goal?
We're just trying to make sure that the money we're spending is efficient, effective, and there's outcomes, for our children. And so I think I don't know if there's any specific things that I've seen. I know there's some bills that haven't been introduced yet, but and obviously we're always looking for more parental freedom and control. That I think we're all for, but I think different kids learn different ways, and I think it's important that we try and come up with programs that will help them learn. And obviously, Dan would have a lot better answer than I can in this realm. But I think we're just trying to be innovative. I mean, the state of Utah, we usually lead out in most policies and most different programs and things across the country. We're a leader in so many areas. We're high for outcomes for the amount of money we spend on education. We have amazing teachers, amazing, I think great administrators and all those that help support teachers. And I think we can come up with innovative ways to try and help teach our kids and make sure that they're reading proficient by the time they're in the third grade, and make sure that we are educating our youth so that they're ready for the jobs that are going to be waiting for them. We've obviously got a lot of technology and with Silicon Slopes and other industries coming to the state of Utah, I want to make sure that we are educating them appropriately. I think that's what we're talking about, innovative ways and making sure we're educating them that they're, again, ready for the jobs that are going to be waiting for them when they get out of high school, and if they decide to go on to college or vocational education is still, I think, very, very important. We want to make sure that our kids are aware of all the different options that they have.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I think Senator Wilson really stated that very well. And, innovative ways often can be maybe through a grant program where somebody has an idea and they would be given some latitude to try to see what the impact is, and that you evaluate it and that you measure it. And so, there are a lot of different ways that you can incentivize people to try an idea that they have. And I think that the Senate wanting to do things like that is a really good idea.
I also want to add one other thing is I think we all want to make sure that we don't continue to handcuff our teachers by giving, burdensome things. Let's make sure that they can teach our kids and make sure that they are proficient. So I think we need to make sure that, like I said, we don't have burdensome policies and things for them to have to do. Make sure we're careful in what we're asking our teachers to do besides teach our kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm good for tonight. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that what I like the questions that the folks got online, and those are very thought provoking actually, and they've invited us, I think, to go back, research some things, find out some other answers, and maybe next week we can provide a little more information on these questions and look forward to new and different ones as well.
All right. This is my first round on this. What do you guys suggest that I can do better to make this a better experience for you?
I mean, we just want to make sure we have input from our citizens and make sure we're getting, their concerns answered or their thoughts. And I think everybody here, all the legislators received literally hundreds of emails and dozens of texts, especially with those two, some people say were controversial bills, and so we were inundated this past week or so, and boy, it was tough. I just want to and I'm sure I don't want to speak for everybody, but boy, trying to get back with constituents has been very difficult. I had people text me, well, I sent you an email yesterday, and I said, well, boy, it's buried with my, in my emails, and we're all involved with committees and appropriation committee stuff. So please bear with us. I know we've got new interns. They're still trying to learn the ropes. So just bear with us. We do care about what you're saying and your thoughts and your concerns, but bear with us a little bit with the volume we're receiving has been a little overwhelming.
Jeff, I was just going to add one last thing about, you asked about Kara Birkeland's bill. I looked it up. It's actually on my in government operations, where I'm vice chair, and so we're going to be hearing that in the next. I don't think it's on the agenda for tomorrow, but we will next week.
And Jeff, I know we're out of time. I just want to tell how much it's a pleasure to work with all the other representatives and Senator Sandel and Casey, and I'll tell you, we have got an amazing group that represents Northern Utah, and I'm serious when I say that. We all are you know, doing, I think, wonderful things. We all have respect in our, I think, throughout the legislature, and I think truly, it's an honor, and we've worked together on many, many bills and see each other. Like I said, it's a pleasure to serve with these other representatives and senators. And again, thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
your
Jeff.
time. Thanks for
Thank
all the good
you.
work you're doing.